Hi everyone, I'm going to show you how to make a postcard image that looks something like this one, with a combination of different images blended together, at different levels of opacity, with a gradient that shifts colors from one to another, and with some text. So it's bringing a lot of different skills together, all in one image. The first thing that you'll want to do is just create a new canvas. You might just want to specify just what size it's going to be from the start. I'm just going to call this Postcard. I'm going to make this from Boston this time, this example. And for my width and height, I'm just going to choose something that's going to be kind of postcard shaped, so something like wider than it is tall, so maybe like 1000 by 700 pixels should be a good ratio. And it's roughly, postcard shaped. It's a little wider than it is tall. And next I'm going to need some images to put into my postcard. So I'm going to start with something that's kind of like a skyline, and then I'll also grab some pictures of famous landmarks and blend all of those things together. So first I'll start with Boston skyline. I'll just find a nice picture of the Boston skyline. I think this looks like a pretty nice one. I'll just copy that and paste it. And it's way too big. That's fine. I'll just resize it. I can either use the move tool with transform controls, or I can use Control T to bring up transform controls. And I'm just holding Shift and dragging to resize it. You'll notice it's going to have to go a little bit over the edge, but that's no big deal. And then I can also reframe it, kind of like, I think that's good. Alright, so I've got my skyline. I'm going to name that layer Skyline. And then I'll also go grab a couple other images of famous landmarks. I'm just going to say Boston landmarks. I'll see what I get. Looks like there's the State House. There's the old meeting house. That's pretty famous. I think that's a statue of Paul Revere. Don't even remember. I really should probably know. I think it's a statue of Paul Revere. Definitely some revolutionary. Yeah, Paul Revere. So, yeah, I think Paul Revere Monument should be good. I will grab this photo. And then I'm just going to leave it there as it is. I'll just name it. Name the layer Revere. And I'll get one more. What other famous landmarks do I have to work with? I think like Fenway Park maybe would be good. I'm just going to type in Fenway Park. Let's see, I got one with where the Boston Red Sox logo is more prominent. I have one with prominent green monster. One at night. Not really sure what will end up being the best view for this. I'll go with this one. We'll try it out. I can always just get another one if it isn't great. I'll paste that as well. My copy paste didn't work. I'll try again. There we go. Alright, So the next thing I'm gonna do is I'm going to trim down some of these images to only include the pieces that I want. So for example, I'm not sure I want the whole background behind Paul Revere. Maybe the top of this building is good. I may or may not want these trees though. Thinking what I might do is just trim out everything except the tower, like the sort of spire behind him, and the statue. Let's see if I can manage that. It shouldn't be too difficult with some quick select and have the wrong layer selected. Let me select the Paul Revere layer, try to quick select the background, see if I can just get rid of it. So it's doing an awful lot of selecting. There's a lot of overlap between like sky and building because they're kind of really light blue and that's next to white. Maybe if maybe I'll try the magic wand instead, see if it's better at finding the edges. Magic wand is good at that, but I don't mind having the sky there. It's no big deal though. I'll get rid of it. What about quick select for here? Another thing I could try is isolating Paul Revere and then inverting my selection. Let me see how that works. So it seems like this is working better. It's a little easier to select the statue than it is to select the background pieces, so I'm just selecting the entire statue. And I'll also select the entire tower. This is also working out a lot better. So that's what I'm going to do. Sometimes you just have to try different selection methods until you find something that works. Sometimes you have to use more careful selection methods like the lasso tool. Other times, oh, that was a mistake. Other times you can use things like quick select. I think I'm just going to leave the ends of those little spires out. Let's just try that. Control-Shift-I to invert the selection, and I'm just going to backspace away everything that wasn't in my selection. So there really isn't much left. No, I think I'll continue. I'm just gonna, I think because the top of the, right, was the top of that clock tower? Yeah, because the top of the clock tower was always missing. Pretty sure it was. It's not gonna look that great. So I'm just going to remove the whole thing. Back up a few steps to where I just had Paul Revere selected. Let's see, this looks almost there. And with just Paul Revere selected, I will Control-Shift-I and remove the whole background. This is a little better. And I can just clean up the image. It might be easier at this point to just clean up the image with an eraser tool. I'm going to Control-Shift-I again, so I actually reversed it again, so I'm now selecting Paul Revere again. Because the eraser tool right now is only working on things that I've selected. I will have to be really careful here so I don't, if I'm using the erase tool, I want to be really careful that I don't accidentally erase bits of the actual object I want to keep, which is why, I don't know, sometimes Sometimes I think you're better off using Magic Wand or something like that. Maybe I can get Magic Wand to work. And then there is another technique that I'm going to show you in a minute that you might want to try also. Yeah, I might just Magic Wand away a lot of this. Still just selecting with the Magic Wand and quick select just to see, just to get rid of any extra. Alright, that should be good. So I've got a pretty well isolated Paul Revere statue. I'll bring Paul Revere over to the edge. I want to shrink him a little bit. The statue's pretty big. All right, let me bring back Fenway Park. And in this example, I'm going to show you a different technique for removing stuff that you haven't really seen yet. So in this example, I'm going to rename my layer Fenway. And let's see, bring up my transform controls, see how big this is. It's pretty large. I don't need it to be that large. I'm going to shrink it first before I do anything with it. And now I think I kind of want to get rid of sort of most of this background with all the buildings. And I really just want the field and the Red Sox logo. And I don't really want the sky or the buildings. So what I'll do is I'm going to use a different. So there's advantages and disadvantages to the strategy I'm about to show you. And what I'm going to show you is a layer mask. Now, one advantage of a layer mask is that what I'm going to do is I'm basically going to cover up pieces instead of erasing, like I just did with Paul Revere. Instead of erasing, I'm going to be covering up, masking bits of this image, and it'll have the same effect as erasing. You won't be able to see it, but the mask will sort of stay still, and so you won't be able to like move the object around and have it look the same. Like because I erased everything around Paul Revere, I can move Paul Revere around. I can just resize, I can move him wherever, and it kind of doesn't really matter. But with this strategy I'm about to show you, it matters more. So let me see where I want to put Fenway. Maybe kind of like at the bottom. Actually, I could kind of just superimpose it over the whole thing. See how that works. See what it looks like. I don't know, if it doesn't look good, I'll change it. Because remember, I'm going to be adding transparency to this too, so it's not just going to be covering everything up. So let's just say I want to get rid of some of these buildings in the background. What I'm going to do instead of erasing is I'm going to click this down here that kind of looks like a black spot on a white background, and this is going to add a layer mask. What masking does is it covers up, it covers things up, and when you add a mask, what you can do is you can cover things up using the color black, and you can reveal them using the color white. So like right now I want to cover things up. I'm going to make my main color black. I'm just going to use this flip sort of two arrows that flip things around so that my main color is black and my secondary color is white. And so I'll just take a brush. I'm actually going to make sure it's a very like solid brush without like fuzzy edges. That should be fine. I don't want fuzzy edges right now. I just want to erase what I erase. And what I'll do is just using black, because I'm now working in a mask, I'm going to start filling areas with black, and what it does is it actually goes away. So you'll see as I keep erasing by masking, you'll see that it's actually adding black to this this small thumbnail image in the layers. It's adding black to show where the dark part of the mask is, where the part of the mask that covers things up is located. And what's nice about masking is, let me just sort of finish up this top section. Okay, let's just say I wanted to keep this this metal work here. This says John Hancock. Let's just say I just erased a whole bunch of it, and it, oh man, I ruined it. It's all ruined. Well, what I can do is flip this to white, and with white, I can actually add it back. It comes back because what you're doing is you're painting over. You're in the mask. Remember, the mask is just telling Photoshop what to hide and what to show. Well, you're painting over the black with white. White is reveal. White is not cover. So, if you paint black, it covers. If you paint white, it reveals. And you might have noticed that icon over there, that thumbnail image, when you were using adjustment layers. Adjustment layers are just, you know, that adjustment that you want to make, like hue or saturation or brightness, with a mask applied to it. So you are still working with a mask there, and you can even edit your mask when you do that. But for now, I'm just using the mask to cover things and reveal things. So I'll switch this back and just continue trying to mask away the background. And then I think what I'll do for this top section, where it starts to kind of blend with the sort of buildings and the John Hancock logo start to blend together, I think what I'll do is I'll use a much fuzzier brush, and kind of use the brush edges where it's really fuzzy to fuzz out this, so it's not like I'm going to make a huge brush. I'm mostly just going to use the sort of semi-transparent edges of it, like this, to sort of just sort of fade the top of that. And I'll use the top, sort of fade the top of everything up here. Right, so that makes it so it doesn't have these hard edges that are going to show up later. All right, so I've got this masked out. Now you're thinking, why do I have all this covered? You know, one thing covering another thing. It doesn't seem like it has much of a point. Well, we're gonna also start changing opacity, so you'll be able to see through things. So, for example, this Fenway Park. First of all, I kind of want it to be behind Paul Revere. So I'll pull Paul Revere up to the front by just moving his layer up, and then Fenway Park, I'm going to adjust the opacity so that it's less visible and a little more see-through. I'll adjust the opacity on Paul Revere as well. He's pretty solid. I don't know if I want him to be that solid. And I think maybe let's see, I think maybe Paul Revere might be better off. Would be better off on the other side so you can see all the Red Sox logo? Probably. Also kind of looks like he's pointing to the Red Sox logo, which is pretty funny. I think I'll leave it like that. And then I kind of want to bring... kind of just like bring the skyline up a little bit. So I think what I will do is switch to the skyline layer. And it used to, I think I shrank it a little too much. I'm going to resize it. So that it's so the tops of the buildings are up a lot higher and more prominent in the picture. And the Fenway Park logo isn't clashing with it quite so much. Let's see. I think that should be okay. And I'll even make the skyline. I'll even add a little bit of... I'll even take away a little opacity from that as well, just so it doesn't fight too much with the other images for, you know, the ability to show. Yeah, I think that's good. Okay, and now I want to add. I kind of want to add some color effects and some text as well. So the first thing I'm going to do is I'm going to add a gradient. So there's going to be a color that's kind of overlaid over the top of everything. Well, I'm going to need a new layer for that. So I'm going to go down to this new layer symbol at the bottom. Just looks like a page. I'm going to click that. It'll add a new layer. I'm just going to call this gradient. And I'm going to click on my gradient tool, which is this sort of rectangle that looks like it shifts from one color to another. And what this gradient tool is going to allow me to do is just draw a block that fades from one color to another, or even among a bunch of different colors. So for example, if I want it to be, I think I'm going to choose red, white, and blue. You know, it's Boston, birthplace of the Revolution. Good place for, you know, red, white, and blue colors. Also, they happen to be Red Sox colors, so that fits as well. We click on this picture of a gradient right here. Don't click on the drop box, weirdly enough. Actually click on the shifted colors. You get a pretty detailed color editor. And instead of blue, red, yellow, I'm just going to change one of my colors to white. And then I'll set this blue to more of like a dark blue. And I'll set this yellow to red. So that's going to be my gradient. And then I'm just going to draw a line. So I still have this gradient tool. I'm going to draw a line wherever I want that gradient to apply. So if I draw the line like this, it draws the gradient from side to side, from left to right. If I draw the line like this, it'll be top to bottom. I think I'm going to go top to bottom. And then the gradient's currently covering stuff up. I'm going to make the gradient more transparent by lowering its opacity. Alright, I think that's good. And then I'll just add some text. So to do that, I need to click on the text tool. And it might help to choose what you want in advance. You can always edit it later. But you might want to just choose your font and your font size in advance. and click where you want to type and type your message. Now, if you want to make edits, you can. You can highlight, and then once you highlight, you can change the color, you can change the font, you can change the size of the text. I think I'll go, I don't know, I'll try a few different things and see what works. All right, and I think that does it. So I have all of the different components here. I have a few different Boston landmarks. They're all blended together using just using the reduced opacity so you can see through each of them. There's a gradient over the top so that it shifts colors from one side of it to the other, and it has some text. So one thing that you might be wondering about is how to add more features to the text so that the text is a little more interesting looking, and that is something that we'll get to in a future project.